I've always thought there was no hope for Donald Trump and I to ever be friends. But here's the deal. I just learned out we have one thing in common. We are both terrible golfers. Because there's a new tell-all book about the president called Commander-in-Chief, How Golf Explains Trump. That's how desperate we've become to understand this man. Golf, can you explain him? What about you, Cheeseburger? You're his only friend. Now, this book is written by a sports writer and guy wondering what it's going to take to get you in a new Volkswagen Jetta. Rick Riley. Here's how Riley summarizes Trump's approach to the game of golf. He cheats at the highest level. He cheats when people are watching, and he cheats when they aren't. He cheats whether you like it or not. Fun fact, that is also a direct quote from the best man speech at all of Trump's weddings. Now, his cheating is so ubiquitous, Riley writes. To say Donald Trump cheats is like saying Michael Phelps swims. Trump claims to have a handicap of 2.8. Now, lower is better. So to put that in perspective, Jack Nicklaus, winner of a record 18 major golf titles and generally considered the greatest golfer in the history of the game, has a handicap of 3.4. How do I know those stats? They told me right after they gave me my khaki pants at my white mitzvah. Riley subtly insinuates that Trump might not be honest about his handicap, saying, if Trump is at 2.8, Queen Elizabeth is a pole vaulter. And we all know Queen Elizabeth's event is the hammer throw. She's jacked. She's jacked. But the specific anecdotes are where the book really takes off. Like when Trump played against sportscaster Mike Tirico, who said that Tirico once had a great shot that he knew was close. But when he got to the putting green, it was much further away than he expected. Then Trump's caddy came up to me and said, you know that shot you hit on the par 5? It was about 10 feet from the hole. Trump threw it in the bunker. I watched him do it. Trump's own caddy would not cover up for him. So Trump hired a new bag handler, William Barr. But can't see his score. Won't let you see the scorecard. He's going to summarize the scorecard. But possibly worst of all, Riley also writes that Trump doesn't have a great handle on the game's etiquette. He drives his golf cart onto the putting green. What? No way. Look, there are a lot of things you could accuse Donald Trump of, but he would never, and he does it in front of cameras. That is insane. Those golf greens have to be like carpets because putting takes pinpoint accuracy. Driving on them is as profane as using the ball washer to wash your balls. And the only reason he doesn't do that is because he already dunked both of his in the lake. We'll be right
President
back.
Trump has spent 177 days of his presidency at one of his golf clubs. That's about 20% of the time he's been president. So he plays a lot of golf. And according to a new book, he doesn't just play a lot of golf, he cheats a lot. Joining us now is award-winning sports writer Rick Riley. He is the author of Commander-in-Chief, How Golf Explains Trump. Rick, always a pleasure to speak to you. I confess, I picked up the book. I was skeptical. 244 pages on the president cheating at golf. And then I read it, and I think I got it. You're not just saying he cheats. You're saying he cheats. I mean, he cheats on all of it.
He cheats like a mafia accountant. Like, he cheats crazy. He cheats whether you're watching or not. He cheats whether you like it or not. He tried to cheat Tiger Woods in a match, and Tiger hits it like this. He hits 2 balls in the water, doesn't count either, and pretends that he almost tied Tiger Woods. So it doesn't matter who he is. He has to be the winner. What really bothers me is that he told people on the campaign trail, I don't know if you remember this, but he said, I'm a winner. You got to vote for me because I've won 18 club championships. He said this 3 or 4 times, and that's against the best players in the club. But I knew he was lying because he told me how he does it. Whenever he opens a new course that he buys, he plays the first round by himself and calls that the club championship, puts his name on the wall. Sometimes he wins club championships from another state.
Is there a time he was in Philadelphia and he claims he won a club championship in Bedminster?
Yeah.
What happened?
So the club championship's going on at Bedminster. He's playing in Philly at his club there. And he finishes his round. He says, hey, what won the club championship? And they said, oh, Joe Schmo shot 74. He goes, well, I shot 72 today. make me the club champion. And the guy's like, what? Yeah, make me the club champion. And so they take Joe's name off and put Trump's up. And this happens over and over. Like he often says, I've won 18 club championships. Well, he doesn't tell you they're the senior club championships.
Or super senior.
Or super senior. I wouldn't even know if he won those. So it goes on and on. Like his handicap, he says, is a 2.8.
Let's hold off on that because I love the handicap story also. Let me just read part of this to get a sense of what we're talking about here. You write, to say Donald Trump cheats at golf is like saying Michael Phelps swims. He cheats at the highest level. He cheats when people are watching, and he cheats when they aren't. Whether you're his pharmacist or Tiger Woods, if you're playing golf with him, he's going to cheat. And the book is filled with stories. You talked about the club championships, but of people, in some cases famous people, golfing with the president or before he was president with Donald Trump, and he's cheating. Mike Tirico, famous play-by-play guy. Tell me that story.
So Tirico and two other announcers are playing with Trump at Trump Philly, and Tirico is against him in a team game, right? And he hits the shot of his life onto the green, a blind par 5. But when he gets there, it's not near the green. It's not on the green. It's not near the pin. It's in the bunker. Well, it turns out Trump kicked it into the bunker so that he could, I mean, can you give the guy his shot of his life? And how important is it for you to win? You're worth billions. Like, at what point does it, doesn't matter to him? But it does. I played with Clinton when he was president.
He cheated.
He cheated, but in a completely different way. Like, he would take what we call billigans. Like, he'd hit a shot, and then he'd hit 5 or 6 more because he was confounded by golf. But he wasn't trying to make you lose. He'd always play his first ball, but he was just trying to get the game. It's like a guy that goes to the bank to steal the pen versus the guy that goes to steal the money. He really needs to win, and I've never seen anything quite like it.
So Donald Trump is a very good golfer.
Yeah.
All right? But he claims to be a 2.8 handicap.
Right.
Explain that.
So in golf, you and I can play. If you're really good and I'm terrible, then you got to give me shots. So I get 10 free shots. Well, Trump says he's a 2.8, which is really, really good. To give you a little idea, Jack Nicklaus is a 3.5. Jack Nicklaus. So you can go on the website that shows your people's, anybody in the country, you can see their handicap. He's a 2.8, but it's taken him 8 years to get the 20 scores. So he's just cherry picking his best rounds. He can't cover a 2.8, no way. Everybody that's played with him, the pros, Dustin Johnson, they all say he's about a 9 or 10. So why does he have to say he's a 10? I mean, a 2.8 when he's really a 10. Isn't 10 pretty good? Why's he got to say 2.8?
And that gets to the other issue with this book, or what this is really all about. Because you can ask, well, why does it matter that Donald Trump cheats at golf? And you write, golf is like bicycle shorts. It reveals a lot about a man.
It does. And what it reveals about him is he has to win no matter what. It's not that he loves golf. He just loves beating you. So these guys always say he's fun to play with. He always wins. But then he doesn't even take your money. So it's not about beating you out of the $10. It's about showing you that he's better than you. So when he always says, I'm the best player among all the rich people, nobody can beat me, he's played on television 10 times. Pebble Beach Pro-Am 7 times. And the Lake Tahoe thing, Stormy Daniels deal 3 times. He's never made the cut at Pebble Beach. And at Tahoe, he's never finished in the top half. So when there's rules guys and cameras, he's not that good. When it's just his course, his caddy, his world, he's pretty good.
You did say 2 things there, and I want people to know that you make this clear in the book. He is good at golf, just not a 2.8, and people do like to play with him.
They like to play with him. I play with him. He was fun, but it's crazy. He doesn't putt out. You sometimes putt out. He took a gimme chip in with me. Have you ever heard of this? We're playing a bet. I'm in there for a par at 5. He's off the green in 4. He says, I guess that makes this good. He hasn't even got to the green. I said, did you just take a gimme chip in? Well, yeah, I'd have made that.
So
come on.
We're constantly fact-checking the president and calling out when he says things that are untrue or just flat-out lies. What's his response? You're not the first person to say he's a cheater. What's his response to the claims that he cheats at golf and the proof that's in this book?
Every time he says, I never cheat. So I snuck into the Bedminster Caddy Shack in New Jersey with all the caddies. And I said, the president says he never cheats. And they all go, no, he never cheats. And then there was this silence, and I go, oh, you guys cheat for him. And they all laughed, and they have 3 or 4 balls in the pocket. They throw it out of bunkers because he hates bunker shots. They throw it out of the rough. He kicks the ball out of the rough so many times, the caddies call him Pele.
Finally, you have a challenge for the president here. You want to play him?
I want to play him.
You're a 4.5?
I think I'm a 4.5.
All right.
He's a 2.8. If he plays the 2.8, and I'll play him for $100,000, either of our charities. But the rule is we can't play his course, can't use his cheating caddies, and there's got to be a rules guy with each of us. And I'll play him all day.
Rick Riley, the book is Commander-in-Chief, How Golf Explains Trump. Thank you very much for being with us, Mr. President. Let's see if you respond to the challenge.
We were all playing together, and we clearly saw him hook a ball into a lake at Trump National in Jersey. And his caddy told him he found it.
That was the caddy soaking wet when he said this?
No, he was not. Yeah, he just took off running, and next thing you know, I got it, Mr. Trump!
I mishit a ball. It hooked a little left, about 20 yards. Trump hit the exact same shot, but went 20 yards further left than mine. Mm-hmm. I could not find my ball in this trash. Trump's ball had the fluffiest lie in the middle of the fairway.
The lies are legend. Donald Trump's love for golf is well documented, as is his penchant for stretching the truth. So it might not surprise you to learn Trump cheats at golf a lot, at least according to Rick Riley and just about everyone he talked to for the new book, Commander-in-Chief, How Golf Explains Trump. You write, quote, Trump doesn't just cheat at golf, he cheats like a three-card Monte dealer. He throws it, boots it, and moves it. He lies about his lies. He fudges and foozles and fluffs. At Winged Foot, where Trump is a member, the caddies got so used to seeing him kick his ball back onto the fairway, they came up with a nickname for him, Pele. And if you're asking why Trump's very predictable habit of breaking golf rules matters, Riley has an answer for that, too. Quote, you might be thinking, what does golf have to do with being president? What does it matter that he cheats at it? What's it got to do with leading the country? Everything. If you'll cheat to win at golf, is it that much further to cheat to win an election, to turn congressional vote, to stop an investigation? If you'll lie about every aspect of the game, is it that much further to lie about your taxes, your relationship with Russians, your groping of women? If you're adamant that the poor don't deserve golf, is it that much further to think they don't deserve health care, clean air, safe schools? Joining us now, sports writer and columnist Rick Riley. First of all, this is amazing and plus one to all that. How did we not know this before he won?
It's funny, I did an interview with the Associated Press, a guy who covers the White House, and at the end he goes, everybody's so mad about this book, and I'm in the press office, I'm like, why? We all can't believe we didn't think of it. Well, because it's a window into a guy's soul. I knew Arnold Palmer pretty well, and he never went into a business deal with a guy until he'd played 18 holes with him. And I asked him once, why is that? And he says, because for 4 hours, they can't hide who they are. And if they're going to be a jerk on the course, then they're going to be a jerk in business. And if they're going to be impatient or lose their temper or cheat, I don't want them cheating me. But if they're really nice and relaxed and fun, then it's going to be a fun deal. And people ask me, what has this got to do? It's got everything to do. You just had the mayor of San Juan on. Well, people don't realize that he got into a deal in Puerto Rico for a golf course, and he sold them all this bill of goods, how he was going to make it so much better, and he was going to get a PGA Tour stop there. And then he ended up making it much worse. And they said, we're going to close up. And they said, no, get a loan from the government. And so this golf course company got a $32 million loan from the Tourist Bureau of Puerto Rico, and then they just walked away. The Trumps just walked away from it. And you're surprised he walks away from Puerto Rico? He never cared for them. And if it's not money in his pocket or a feather in his cap, he doesn't do it.
How does Trump's cheating on the golf course, how do you see it? Because you understand it better than a non-golfer. How do you see it in his day-to-day conduct? How do you see it manifesting?
I mean, just like Michael Cohen, he has his caddies do his cheating for him. I mean, I snuck into the caddy shack at Bedminster and I said, does President Trump cheat? And they all started looking out the window, and a guy came up to me and goes, President Trump never cheats. And I go, oh, you guys cheat for him? He goes, yeah. And then they all came up to me and told me how they do it. They have 4 balls in the pocket, and they're instructed to throw it out of any bunker or out of the woods. I mean, one time, my buddy was playing with me, and it went in the lake. They see the splash. But Trump's always way ahead of everybody in his supercharged golf cart. By the time they get there, it was on the fairway. And they said, Donald, what happened? He said, must have been the tide.
God. Let me ask you, so the corruption, I mean, he's got illegal people here illegally working at the golf courses. You talk
All
about
over his courses.
dirty business that he did in Puerto Rico. I'm sure
Yes.
that's money that they would have liked to have had for hurricane recovery. Is there any sense that the financial crimes extend to the golf courses, money laundering or investments? Or I mean, there are a lot of questions.
Hey, you're
around-
talking to a golfer. So when a guy cheats,
You've got great sources.
when a guy cheats to win money from you, that to me is a financial crime. But it goes beyond just what happens on the golf course. He cheats to win he wins tournaments that aren't even held. Because
Explain.
remember in 2016, he was going around saying, you vote for me because I'm a winner. I've won 18 club championships. And that's against the best players in the club. And that's without strokes. Well, he's such a liar because he had told me when I played with him once how he does it, which is he plays anytime he opens a new golf course. He owns 15 courses. He plays the first round by himself, calls that the club championship, and puts his name up as the first winner. So it's so diabolical and creepy, but kind of genius.
Has he tweeted? Because it seems like his weight, which he had a White House doctor would appear lie about. It would seem that this would be something that would get under his skin. Has he attacked you yet?
No, and I wonder what the heck's going on.
Do you think he will?
I expect to see him with casts on his thumbs or something. There's something wrong.
So here's what baffles me. I thought Trump was actually supposed to be a decent golfer.
He is.
So he doesn't have to cheat to be a decent golfer.
He doesn't.
He spends a ton of time practicing over the years.
You're exactly right. He's got a good swing. He's 70, 2, 3? And he's like about a 9. Tiger Woods said, I played him, he's about a 9. Annika Sorensen said he was about a 10. On the handicap index, which you can go look up right now, he's a 2.8. And he does that by fudging his scores and cherry picking. So to get your handicap, you have to turn in your latest 20 scores. It took him 8 years to get the 20 scores. So we know he played 66 times last year. He only posted 2 times last year. So he's just
Rick,
cherry
ask you a
picking.
question. So one of the things I think about him is he doesn't just cheat because it's in his interest. He cheats because it's in his nature. It seems like he cheats even when he doesn't have to on the golf course. Is that true?
It's right. He doesn't have to cheat. Everyone would happily accept him. And besides, golf is all about integrity. We call our own fouls on ourselves.
Yeah.
It's the only sport with no refs. You would rather cut off your arm than be called a cheater. And yet people catch him all the time cheating, and he doesn't seem to care. And so I asked a psychiatrist, and he said, you don't get it. He has something different in his brain that requires him to be the best. For instance, if he beats you for $20, he doesn't want the money. He doesn't take the money. He just says, I beat you. And he tells everybody around that he beats you. And then he buys lunch, and he's great, and he's very charming. But it's all about winning. But when he won 2 tournaments when he wasn't even at the course. He played a course in Philly. They had the tournament in Bedminster. He called and said, what won it today? And the guy says, 74, Joe Schmertz or whatever. He goes, well, I shot 72 here. Make me the champion. So poor Joe Schmertz comes down, and Donald Trump. That's just not done in golf. That's like, to me, that's like hanging your laundry in the Sistine Chapel.
Golf
You just don't do that in golf.
We stay for one more segment.
Yeah, I'm very
My
mad
name is
about
Rick
it.
Riley. I'm the author of Commander-in-Cheat, How Golf Explains Trump. I kept seeing these tweets in the 2016 campaign about, I'm the best golfer, I'm a winner, vote for me because I've won 18 club championships, and that's against the best players in the club. And I'm like, you liar. You already told me how you won most of those. Whenever he opens a new golf course that he buys, he simply plays the first round by himself. And all of a sudden, he's the champion. He's the king. Give him the crown. I'm a winner. You gotta vote for a winner. And I knew he wasn't a winner. I knew because I played with him. He cheats. Oh, I get to re-hit that one, the bird squash. Or I'm going to take one of my 7 mulligans here. The guy took a gimme chip in. I said, I've heard of gimme putts, Donald, but I've never heard of a gimme chip in. Oh, I never miss those. Trump always hits first from the tee box. He jumps in his cart and drives ahead before anybody else has hit. That's completely against the etiquette of golf, but he does it anyway. I heard a story about one time he hit a drive straight into the water, splash. And by the time the other guys have hit and gotten up there, the ball is back on the fairway. And everyone is like, what the hell, Donald? We're playing for $50. And he goes, must have been the tide. It says a lot that the one sport where it's the easiest to cheat, he cheats like crazy. It just really burns me that he gets to go around saying he's the champion when he's cheating like a mafia accountant. One time he was playing in a scramble. I don't know if you know what a scramble is, but it's 4 guys hit. They all go to the best ball. They all hit from there, and it's a team thing. So Trump was on a team with Rudy Giuliani, Michael Bloomberg, and President Clinton. They're playing golf, and they're playing terrible. They're not going to come anywhere near winning any money. They're probably going to finish second to last. So Trump is mad. He comes in the clubhouse, he finds the tournament director, and he says, "Hey, I won low net. Give me a trophy." And the guy's like, "Sir, there's no low net. It's a scramble. It's a team event." "I won low net. Give me a trophy." So a woman on his staff goes into the women's restroom. She finds a flower vase, throws the flower out, dumps the water out of the vase, rushes to the podium saying, "Ladies and gentlemen, the winner today of low individual net is Donald J. Trump." Look, I love golf. You don't get to call yourself a champion golfer when you cheat. Do not call yourself a 3 handicap when you're more like an 11. If he's a 3 handicap, Queen Elizabeth is a pole vaulter, okay? It matters that Trump cheats at golf because we don't have refs. I don't know if 100 yards away you're kicking the ball out of the rough, but I trust that you won't. It's built into the game. You're a person of honor. We don't cheat. So if he's cheating to beat his friends on a day off in golf, can you imagine how much he cheats on his taxes? Or how much does he cheat trying to get out of an impeachment investigation? How much will he cheat to get help from other nations to win an election? How much will he cheat on his wife? How much will he cheat on his own party in order to win? He's the guy that goes flying through the stop sign unless there's a cop around. And someday there's going to be no cop and he's going to hit your car. The book has done pretty well. We had 4 weeks on the New York Times bestseller list, or as Trump would say, 4 years. Because with Trump, you always get the Trump bump. Like when I was playing with him, he would like introduce me as, "Hey," because if someone's a little bit famous, he wants to make them sound really famous, and then he gets some residual fame rub off it or something. And so he'd be like, "This is Rick Riley, managing editor of Sports Illustrated." Like, and then the next guy, "This is Rick Riley, publisher of Sports Illustrated." I'm like, "No." And like, "Hey, Rick, meet Luigi. He was voted best hamburger chef in the world." And the guy's like, "No." It's just funny how he does that. I saw Lee Trevino one day, great golfer. And I said, "Did you ever play with Trump?" He goes, "No, I played one of his courses. He played the Florida course, and I was showered, got dressed, and I was leaving, and he saw me. 'Lee Trevino, greatest golfer of all time.'" And Trevino's like, "What'd you shoot out here, Lee?" And Lee goes, "I shot 73. "Oh, let me introduce you around." So he's schlepping Trevino around. "This is Lee Trevino, greatest golfer of all time. Just shot a 69. And Lee's like, "What?" And the next guy's like, "Lee Trevino, winner of 14 majors. Just shot a 65. Like, "What?" And Trevino said, "Rick, I had to leave there before I set the course record." Trump does it. Trump does the Trump bump with everything. Do you realize that Trump Tower is known as a 58-story building, but it's really only 48 stories? He skipped the 20s because he wanted his building to be taller than the GE building down the street, which is 54 actual stories. But so he just skipped, and now the 58th floor is the top floor, and you're like, that's crazy, but what's the harm? And at that time, he wasn't running the world, so it was like everything with him. You're like, you're crazy, let's write it down. But it wasn't funny when there was a fire 2 years ago there, and the fire department came, and they said, "Where's the floor?" "It's on the fire, 44th floor." "No, we see one on the 34th floor." And because of the tent, they couldn't find the fire. And so, like, what are you doing? Everything gets exaggerated, but kind of in a weird way. I remember being in his Trump Tower apartment. It's just like coated with gold toilets and gold everything, right? And in the corner, I mean, it's an incredible apartment, 270-degree views. And in the corner is a telescope. And it's gold. And so I said, "Can I look through it?" And he said, "Go ahead." So I started looking through it, and he said, "You know, I saw the the World Trade Center towers fall down through that telescope. And I go, oh my God, that's horrible. And he goes, yeah, that's pure gold. Really? That's your takeaway from seeing all that? I mean, it's just kind of how he is. It's him or not. I remember once going to his office. Riley, sit down. I got something to show you. And he slaps down a yellow laminated card. And it says, bearer eats free at any McDonald's in the world. And he goes, only me, Michael Jordan, and Mother Teresa has that card. I'm like, really? Really, Donald? So I'm supposed to believe right now at the Calcutta McDonald's, Mother Teresa's wheeling her little station wagon through there, rolling. I will have 10,000 chicken sandwiches. I mean, give me a break, Donald. I would always say that. Give me a break. I was like, he would. But and then it didn't really matter. Like you can look up right now and see his handicap is a 2.8. Now, you can also look up and see that Jack Nicklaus's handicap is 3.6. Now, if you had to sweep the streets of Moscow the rest of your life, who would you bet on? Trump at 2. If he's at 2.8, Queen Elizabeth is a pole vaulter. I mean, it's just unbelievable the lies he tells. And he somehow gets away with them. I didn't even want to write this book. That's the weird thing about this. I was retired. I was living half the year in Italy. I was setting the world pasta record or whatever I was doing over there, doing nothing. It was 2016. And I kept seeing tweets from Trump and speeches from Trump and video from Trump on campaign going, the reason I'm a winner. The reason you should vote for me is I'm a winner. I've won 18 club championships, and that's against the best players in all the clubs. That's against the young guys. That's with no strokes. And I'm like, you liar. You told me how you did it once. And he forgets that he accidentally tells the truth, and then he goes with the lie. Like right now, he keeps telling people his dad was born in Germany. I have no idea why. His dad was born in Queens. But anyway, so he's like, I'm like, you liar, you told me how you do it. He said, whenever I open a new club, like buy a new club, I play the first round with me and Melania, and she's not gonna beat me, so I'm the club champ. And that's how he won 12 of those 18 club championships. I'm like, that's so diabolically clever, it's really smart, but it's also kind of wrong. So I started looking into this like, well, maybe this is an article for SI or something. So I started checking into the others that he'd won. And I found out he won the Bedminster club championship once when he was in Philadelphia. He played Trump Philadelphia, and then at the end of the day called them and said, hey, what won the club championship today? And they said, Morty Schwartz shot a 75. And he's like, I shot 73 up here. Make me the club champ. And the guy's like, it's a pretty good one, Mr. Donald. And he's like, no, make me the club champ. And so poor Morty Schwartz got yanked off, and Trump goes up. He's been doing it even as president. He's now up to 20. He won the Trump Mar-a-Lago golf course club championship when he was in Singapore with Kim Jong-un. How do you pull that off? And here's what he did. They played it in Florida. He couldn't be there. He was in Singapore. He got back. A month later, he sees the guy that won, a guy named Ted Virtue. He was the money guy behind Green Book. And he's a nice guy, and he's playing with his son. And here comes Trump. Now, when you play with the president, there's about 30 golf carts, as we all know, since we've all had to pay for them. And Trump has this super fast golf cart at every course he goes, which is one reason why the Secret Service has to pay so much for golf carts, because they have to get really fast ones to keep up. That's what part of the expense is. So and so you got the nuclear football, you got the Trump dump thing, which is, it looks like a portalet, and then they could shove him in there if there's a bomb, and there's the guy that's got the vials of blood, and the red phone, and the chief of protocol, and this and that. So it's like 40 golf carts. And here's this guy who'd won the club championship, playing with his son. And here comes this armada of golf carts. And here comes, well, Ted, good job winning the club championship. And Ted goes, well, thank you, Mr. President. But you didn't win it because you didn't play me. And Ted's like, ha, that's a good one. No, you didn't play me. We're going to play right now. Like, what? No, we're going to play these last 6 holes. Whoever wins is the real club champion. This is the President of the United States saying this. And Ted goes, well, thanks anyway, but I'm playing with my son. He can play. So they played a 6-hole tournament. They get to the 15th hole, par 3. Kid hits it on. Ted hits it on. Trump hits it in the water. They see the ripples. Middle of the pond, see the ripples. Trump always hits first, jumps in his super turbo Mario Kart, zips ahead, and you're always, like when I play with him, you hit, and if you're the last guy, you got to catch up because he's 200 yards up there. He's kicking it. He kicks the ball so much they call him Pele. The caddies call him Pele. So by the time they get there, Trump is lining up the kid's putt. And the kid's like, hey, Mr. President, that's my ball. And Trump's caddy, of course, because he tips well, goes, no, that's the president's ball. Yours went in the water. And they're like, what? And yeah, this is the president's ball. And Trump's already hit the putt. And the kid goes, Dad, that was a brand new ball. I guess we'll buy you a new ball. And so Trump wins, and that's how he won his 20th club championship. So how crazy is this? So that's what got me writing the book. And so then people just started telling me these stories. For instance, he doesn't just make his score better, he makes yours worse. I think one of Dante's circles of hell is for that. Because, for instance, at Trump Philly, Mike Tirico, the NBC announcer, is playing with John Gruden and Sean McDonough. And it's Gruden and Trump against McDonough and Tirico. And Tirico's about a 13 handicap, and he hits this great 3-wood above a hill to a blind par 5, and it's the shot of his life. And the caddy's whooping, and Tirico's whooping, and he's all excited. And when they get there, ball's nowhere to be found. So Tirico checks the hole. That's how good the shot is. Not in the hole. They're looking all over, find it in the bunker, 55 feet left of where the line was. And like, what? And they check, and it's his, and he leaves it in the bunker, hits another crappy one, makes a double when he was probably going to make birdie. And so he paid Trump his $25 because Trump always wins. There's no beating the guy. And then they're in the parking lot. The caddy came up and said, oh, hey, you know, on that shot, Trump kicked it in the bunker. President of the United States. And so one time he hit it in the pond in LA at a country club. Friends of mine were playing with him. And of course, Mario Kart, he's out there 200 yards ahead. And like, they saw the ball go in the pond, but by the time they get there, it's in the middle of the fairway. They're like, Donald, what are we doing? This is a $50 bet. And Donald goes, must have been the tide. I mean, it's insane. It's insane. And now he's the most powerful man in the world. People always ask me, yeah, but Clinton cheated. Well, yeah, I played with Clinton during his presidency, and yeah, he cheated. He cheated a lot. But it's like the difference, if you go into a bank and steal the pen versus going in and stealing the vault, because first of all, Clinton doesn't bet, or at least he didn't bet that day, and he just wants to play and never gets to play. So, for instance, he has 24 clubs in his bag, which is 10 over the limit. That's a lot. And then Clinton always plays his first shot, so he never takes any mulligans, but he takes billigans. We called them billigans because he would hit the first shot and then second, third, fourth, just for practice. 5, 6 shots sometimes. And then he'd always play the first one, but then I noticed he could never quite remember where his first one was. And then every Secret Service guy wants to be ambassador to Sweden someday, so he'll be like, I'm pretty sure it's next to the pin, Mr. President. Like, wow, fantastic. So we got the Secret Service, we got SWAT team guys on a golf course. Like, what are they going to do? They're going to wrestle down a squirrel or something. I don't know what they're going to do. But And so he kept hitting these billigans. I'm just showing, he was such a nice guy about it. But he kept hitting it way right because he kind of gets on his toes and he hits kind of a sweepy thing right. And finally, this poor caddy is having to get all these balls. He's 75 years old. And no one's helping him, not the Secret Service, nobody. And he's finally had it. He doesn't care who he's with. And on the 8th hole, he finally turns to him and says, "Get off your toes, you ain't no damn ballerina." And like, oh crap, and the Secret Service guys and the SWAT guys, I mean, even the squirrel is like, and I'm like, what is gonna happen? Because like I was thinking, I just had the quick thought, like, if we were in Iran, this guy's tongue would be cut out. And then they'd go find his kids. And then every child they would have their tongues cut out, right? But in the coolest country in the world, Clinton goes, "My bad." So yeah, he cheats. But this guy cheats on a level like I've never seen, and I've been playing for 50 years. In fact, so many people, after the book came out, which was in April, gave me stories that I had to add an extra chapter to the paperback, which comes out in April. I mean, I had to roll up my car windows. They were coming over the transom, just so many stories. And for instance, the guy who ran the Caddy Shack at Bedminster for 10 years calls me up and goes, "Oh, you don't know the half of it." I'm like, "I'd like to. Let me know." And he goes, "Oh, we had to buy 4-inch green teas, buy a 500 in a bag. And every caddy who went with Trump had to have both pockets full of 4-inch green teas." And I'm like, "So what? I mean, that's not illegal, green tea, whatever." He goes, "No, they would run ahead and tee it up in the rough." And he's like, people would always come in and go, "God, Trump's really good out of the rough." Yeah, I wonder how. You remember Joe Torre had a charity tournament, maybe it's still there, Trump Westchester? So this guy calls me who runs the Joe Torre Celebrity, or did, the Celebrity Championship. And he says, "Have I got a story for you?" I'm like, "Tell it." He says, "Trump is playing with Bloomberg, Clinton, and Giuliani in the scramble," right? Oh, and Torre's the celebrity. So 4 guys plus Torre. And they did terrible. You know, scrambles, everybody hits, we go to that ball, to the best ball, everybody hits that, it's a team thing. They come in, they're finishing, you know, deep, way back in the pack. And Trump is mad, and he finds this guy who's running the tournament. And he says, "Hey, I won low individual net today, so give me a trophy." And the guy's like, "Oh, it's a team thing. There's no low individual net." Trump goes, "I won low individual net, and you got to give me a trophy, and I'm going to get up there and accept it." And he's like, and you know, it's his course. And he's like, "Okay." So he only has a staff of 1, this woman, and she goes, "I got an idea." She goes in the women's restroom, she finds a vase with flowers in it, yanks the flowers out, pours the water out, brings the vase back out, hands it to my guy. He gets up to the podium, and he goes, "Today, the winner of the low individual net." And Bloomberg's looking at him, and Clinton's like, "What?" "Donald Trump." And Trump got up and gave a 22-minute speech about it. I mean, and everybody had a story. Everybody had a story. And I always would ask them, "Well, did you call him on it? Did you say, that's not fair? That's illegal, that's cheating?" And a lot of people had the guts to say, "Donald, stop it, that's cheating." And Trump would always have the same answer. And I heard this 4 different times in the exact same order. He would turn and go, "Hey, I cheated my wives, I cheated my taxes. You don't think I'm going to cheat in golf at my own course?" And, right? I mean, he cheated Tiger Woods. And they arguably the greatest player of all time. It's Tiger and Dustin Johnson against Brad Faxon and Trump. Now, Tiger and DJ are back at the back tees, the Tiger tees, and Trump and Faxon get to play the white tees to make up for how much better the other 2 guys are. So, Trump and Faxon both hit it right on this 1 hole. The 2 big hitters are both way left. Mario Kart, zip, zip, zip. We're up there. Trump's about to hit a second shot. He's got to hit it over a lake. Chunk, right in the lake. And Trump turns to Faxon and says, throw me another one they didn't see. And Brad Faxon, a professional, is like, what? He's like, throw me another they didn't see. He's like, okay. But he said, I want to say, you know, that's Tiger Woods. He might know if you're cheating. Takes that one, chunks that in the water. By now, here comes Tiger and Dustin Johnson. They get zip, 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 hurry up to the green. Trump's first to putt. Tiger's hit it like this for birdie. He says, Mr. President, what are you putting for? Because, you know, it's a match play bet. And Trump goes, 4 for a 3. He's actually putting 7 for a 6. But, you know. And I said, Fax, why didn't you call him on it? Why didn't you say that's cheating? And he said, because everybody we know has a great Trump cheating story. We didn't have one. We wanted our own story. I'm like, all right.
Welcome, everybody, to tonight's program at the Commonwealth Club.
This woman is terrifying with the time thing.
I know.
She looks terrifying, and she's going to have those little numbers.
The club can be found. I'm going to try to keep him in line all night. So okay. The club can be found on the internet at commonwealthclub.org.
That's your lead?
That's my lead. My name is Joan Ryan. Just so you know who you're talking to.
Okay,
tonight,
thanks,
Rick.
Joan.
I'm an author, formerly a sports columnist with the San Francisco Chronicle, and now I'm a media consultant. I'm in my 13th season at the San Francisco Giants. Just came.
There you go.
Thank you.
How many books now?
I'm working on my 5th. 5th one comes out next year. So I'll be back on this stage, right, George? Yeah, thanks.
Can I interview her?
Yes, bring Rick back.
Get even. Exactly.
I'm happy to be your moderator for this program on a relevant but ultimately kind of depressing topic.
No, we're going to have fun.
But Rick is going to make it fun.
The other night, I was somewhere the other night, and he goes, there was a guy sitting right in front, and he's like, I didn't really want to come here because I get so depressed. And I think I'm going to, if I leave, don't take it personally. I'm like, no, we're going to have fun. And this is one of your few chances where we can really feel better about what an idiot this guy is.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay. And it's not going to matter because it's not political. It's just idiocy. And he's like, okay. And then he stayed the whole time.
Oh, good. All right. So joining us, as you can tell, is Rick Reilly. Like many of you, I have followed Rick's career for a long time, and we were at many events.
Yes, we were.
Together. You're Sports Illustrated to ESPN, member of the National Sports Writers and Sportscasters Hall of Fame, voted National Sports Writer of the Year 11 times. Anybody have more than that?
Jim Murray.
How many?
13.
13.
Jim Murray, the
a
greatest
record
of all
that will
time.
never be broken.
You remember Jim Murray?
Oh, the best.
LA Times, LA everything.
And when we all came into the business, we all mimicked him for as long as we could until we figured out who we were.
Well, maybe we can't do that. And Dan Jenkins.
Oh, yeah. I never tried that one.
I tried it. It's too hard.
So USA Today called Rick the closest thing sports writing ever had to a rock star. And he's written about everything from ice skater, this is a range here, Rick.
Okay.
Everything from ice skater Katarina Witt, behind the Iron Curtain, to actor Jack Nicholson in the front row of the Lakers games, from wrestling priests in Mexico City, I missed that one,
yes,
to mushers at the Iditarod, from playing golf with President Clinton to playing golf with O.J. Simpson, and back again.
That was after the incident, though.
Oh, it was?
He called it the incident.
The incident,
yeah.
Okay.
And I remember he was like, I found him out there at Rancho Park playing with another guy, he had no one to play with. It was just a stranger he was playing with. And I said, could I play the back nine with you? And he goes, yeah, but no questions about the incident. Because he got off, if you remember.
I do remember.
And I'm like, no questions about the incident. He goes, only golf questions. And I'm like, absolutely, I'm a sports writer. And he goes, okay. And so my first question was, now, has your backswing changed since you killed those people? Or is it,
So to continue, he left sports writing 4 years ago after publishing what you figured to be 2 million words on sports?
Yes, I counted them up one day.
One
You know,
by one.
when you have to write, you'll just do anything other than write. Have you know? Oh, I got to clean the gutters. Maybe I should count how many words I've published.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe I should train the gerbil to jump over whatever. And I figured out with all the words I've published, books, screenplays, this, that, and for a while there, you were also with ESPN. They make you do so much stuff.
Yeah.
So I decided it was 2 million words.
Wow.
And of those 2 million, about 400 were any good, I think.
Oh, stop. But he's the author of 13 books, including his latest, Commander-in-Chief, How Golf Explains Trump. So welcome, Rick, to the Commonwealth
you.
Club and to San Francisco.
Well, I just want to say, it's, I've been on the book tour for 3 months.
Ugh.
I'm so sick of myself. So one time, and I remember the worst moment I ever had on a book tour was in Minneapolis at the Mall of America. It was snowing. It was like a Christmas book tour or something. And they had behind me, like, here was my podium, and they had 500 cookies, like in a mountain, right, lined up like a mountain, and 2 giant things of lemonade. And then they had 500 books over here, and then they had a serpentine tape that would go from where I was going to sign all through the bookstore, winding in and out. And then it came time to start, and there was one guy. One guy. And what do? You still got to go through with it, right?
Right.
So I did my little 20-minute spiel. And at the end, he goes like this. I'm like, sir, you don't have to raise your hand. What? And he kept his hand up. I'm like, all right, what's your question? Can we eat them cookies? He only came for the cookies.
Oh, and didn't buy a book.
Yeah, no, he did buy one book. He felt so bad. He ate a lot of cookies, though.
He ate a lot of cookies. He got his money's worth. I know. And everybody thinks this is so glamorous because they don't see all of those moments, when you're doing your book tour. But anyway, nobody's complaining about,
Can I tell one more, though?
Sure.
This happened on this
Tell
tour.
whatever you want.
Remember Bob Ryan?
Oh, of course.
Great Boston sports writer.
Oh, yeah.
So my booker calls him up. Hey, would you like to do a podcast with Rick Riley? He goes, sure. So I called him, it was like last week, Friday, 12 o'clock. Bob, Rick Riley, I'm going to do a podcast with you. He says, great. How you been? We shoot the breeze for about 30 seconds. He goes, well, I'm ready when you are. I'm like, well, I'm ready when you are. And there was 3 minutes of excruciating silence. And I'm like, what's he waiting for? I'm sitting here. Oh, maybe he's getting the equipment ready. And then after 3 minutes, he goes, what the hell's going on? And I'm like, I'm waiting for your question, Bob. He goes, I'm waiting for your question.
He thought...
I said, I'm on your podcast. He goes, I'm on your podcast. Neither of us had a podcast. And we felt so stupid and old. And like,
that is
I said, you can't tell anybody this story. So I have not told anybody.
So my first question. So you have a history with Trump. So I'm interested to know when you first met him and if he did the handshake. I'm fascinated by the Trump handshake.
We knew him for so long in the USFL. Remember, he signed Doug Flutie and then he sued the other owners because they didn't pay his salary, Flutie's salary. Like, what?
Yeah.
You're the other team.
Yeah.
He sued them.
Yeah.
And then we knew him at fights. And then I remember one time he used to come to Pebble. By the way, I can beat anybody that plays with me if they have a hard time beating me of any age. Yeah? Well, I played Pebble. He played 7 times, never made the cut. And his pro made the cut 4 of the 7. So maybe, Donald, you're the weight. 3 times Tahoe Celebrity. I played with him once during that. And he never finished in the top half. One year he was like 3rd from the last. These are celebrities. It's not all athletes. And you get strokes. But then that was the year he slept with both a porn star and a playmate. So he was tired.
He's tired. Yeah, he has that.
Anyway, he comes up to me at Pebble, and he's like, Rick Riley, greatest sports writer in America. This is back when he liked me. I'm like, I don't think so. I'm looking around for Jim Murray. No, and Marla's like, he's not kidding. He loves you. Look, and she opens her purse, and she's got one of my columns in it. I'm like, holy shit, what is this?
Scary.
I want you to write a back page column about me. I'm like, I don't think so. But when I did Who's Your Caddy, my book about caddying for famous people, I called him up and he said, yeah, I could do it. But when I got there, he had nobody to play with. So I had to play with him. But it's just crazy when you're with Trump because all of a sudden, he likes to introduce you around. He likes to show off, right? this is Rick Riley, managing editor of Sports Illustrated. And then the next guy out was, this is Rick Riley, publisher of Sports Illustrated. I'm like, no, why are you saying that? And he goes, it sounds better. And then he brings Luigi, come here. Luigi was voted best lasagna maker in the world. And Luigi's like, and then my buddy had dinner with him and Melania in 2016 during the campaign. And they're all having dinner. And the one wife says to Melania, where are you from? And she says, I am from Slovenia. And Trump goes, say Austria. It sounds better.
Oh, my
And
God.
so she started telling people she was from Austria. And then the Slovenian press got all mad. And she got thrown under the Trump wagon.
With a pile of people there. So the first time you played golf with him, though, Rick, did you see what you eventually came to see on how he plays?
Not until the first hole.
Not until
Not the first hole. I think it was 2 mulligans off the first tee. There was something funny he did at Ireland the other day. He goes out there, he puts one ball down on the tee. Did you see this last week? So he tees up his shot, first hole. Then he has another ball next to the first one. Then he hits the first one, he likes it, picks up the ball, puts it on the ground, picks up the ball, puts it in his pocket. No mulligans today. Nobody gets a mulligan. Oh, except for the mulligan you had ready to go. And maybe 3 more in your pocket, because the caddies told me he's always got 3 or 4 balls in his pocket. The old drop pocket, move. Anyway, I've lost track of what we were talking about.
So the first time, that first round of golf you played with him, did you just
yes.
had
Oh,
his
I get
number.
a mulligan there. You talked. No, I didn't. That bird flew too low. One time he made a 6, give me a 4. I'm like, we are playing a metal bet. That's strokes, right? Like, it's for $20. Like, I can't give you a 4. We're playing for money. I always take 1-4, newspaper 4, he called it. Then one time I'm in like this for par, on a par 5, right? I'm in like this for par. So he's going to give me this little putt for 5. He's laying way off the green in 5 already. He picks it up. He goes, I guess that makes this good. I'm like, what do you mean? Is that it? Did you just take a gimme chip in? And by then, see, he's got this, he always has these golf carts with this, he has the caddies rig the governor, so it goes really fast, which is why we've paid over $500,000 now for golf carts, because the Secret Service needs golf carts that they can rig to keep up. If he didn't do that, we could use his carts at Bedminster, Mar-a-Lago, Washington, no problem. But so when he plays Mar-a-Lago, they got to truck carts in from Miami, jerry rig them and keep up. But anyway, did you just take a gimme chip in? And by the time you ask, he's in the super cart with the super caddy, and they're off 100 yards ahead of you. And that's how he does all his cheating. He's always 150 yards ahead, kicking it, foozling it, fudging it, foot wedging it. It's
The
just,
caddies call him Pele, right?
he kicks
Or
it
how's
so
he-
much that the caddies call him Pele. Thank you.
You're welcome. So how many times do you think you've played a round of golf with him?
No, it's just the once.
That's all?
It
You
was
played him
just the once.
Okay, so
and
all
it
the
was
other was stories.
incredible.
Okay.
A gimme chip in and this and that. And so Trump, everything about Trump, he's kind of like Mike Tyson, like in terms of style. Like everything's gold toilets and white pianos with gold trim. And so at his golf courses, he always puts in a 100-foot waterfall. Now, a 100-foot waterfall is ridiculous. So at this course we played in Westchester, the waterfall's just pounding on us and splashing on the green. And you're like, you're away. What? You're away. I can't. Yeah, it's a nice day. What? And it's so stupid. So I asked Tom Fazio, who builds his courses, or used to. Now he really can't handle them anymore. And I'm like, how do you let him put in those completely ugly waterfalls that ruin every course? And he goes, because he pays. But then you find out there's a chapter he doesn't pay. He doesn't pay people. This poor painter at Doral painted his whole golf resort, got shafted $300,000. And he went to Mr. Trump, you did not pay me my $300,000. I've paid you enough, Carlos. His name was Carlos Enriquez. So this little painter and his brother sued the standing, I don't know why this was never reported, sued the standing president of the United States and won $300,000 and fees. Yay. So
Why wouldn't that get
I don't know.
reported?
You know, this thing with Mueller, like, oh, he's terribly conflicted. Well, the problem was Mueller put in $50,000 to join Trump Washington, which isn't in Washington, it's in Virginia. because when Trump bought it, okay, 50,000. Okay. So Mueller puts in his 50 grand. Then he decides it's too far out there. He doesn't want to. So he says, okay, I'm resigning. And in his contract, everybody's contract, when you signed up, you get the money back when you quit if there's another person to take your place, like most country clubs. Trump goes, I'm not paying you. And Mueller's like, you owe me the 50,000. I'm not paying. And so Mueller let it go. But then Trump used it like, this guy's conflicted, angry Republican, or whatever he said. But it's a lot of the crap he's into starts with this lies and cheating. He started in golf. Trump Jupiter, he got sued by 50 guys at Trump Jupiter when he was president, again, for $7 million because he didn't give them back their money. And it's right in the contract. So he lost that too. Then he repealed and lost that. And again, I didn't see anybody reporting it, but a lot of the trouble he gets into starts with his stupid moves in golf.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, all the lying. And it was interesting. Somewhere in your book, you talk about how the lying became contagious among other people. And I thought, well, that explains Sean Spicer and Sarah Sanders, right?
Well, exactly. So this guy, for 3 years, this crew from Golf Channel followed him around the country, the world, for this thing called Trump's Fabulous World of Golf. And so this Golf Channel, and he goes, I said, what was it like? Well, he was fine, except that he'd always say we were from 60 Minutes. And one time we were walking through Mar-a-Lago filming him, and Trump goes, this is the crew from 60 Minutes. And he said a group of Japanese businessmen got up and bowed. They're from Golf Channel. Like, why isn't a crew from Golf Channel good enough? I don't know.
And then those guys started to say, they were starting to say, like, yeah, we're from 60. Like,
So the guy that ran the
to
crew,
start
he said, one day my wife came to me and says, you know, you've been lying so much. Why do you lie so much? And he realized it's from hanging around Trump.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I honestly don't think he remembers his lies.
Yeah.
For instance, he goes to open Trump Turnberry, right, in Scotland, which is a great course, his only great course. But it was a great course before he got it, but whatever. And he gets there the day after the Brexit vote. And he says, good for you, Scotland, taking your country back. And Scotland's like, we voted 63% against. We didn't want to do this. But anyway, he didn't hear any of that. So he's like, blah, blah, blah. And some guy threw Nazi golf balls at him. I don't know if you saw this. It was crazy, right? There's a bagpiper, and it's nuts. Every day's nuts with Trump. But then he gets home, and he starts saying, I predicted Brexit. I was there the day before, and I said, you're going to take your country back. And they like, no, here's you on the newspaper the day after. And he just does. Now he has said it 3 times since.
Yeah.
So there's something warped up there. Like,
Yeah.
what's going on here? Like the other day, he said, my father was born in Germany. Twice. Like, no, he's born in Queens. Where does that lie even get him? And I really wonder with him, like, is he losing his mind?
But his mother was born in Scotland, right?
Yeah, and he said, oh, my mother was on vacation in America from Scotland, where she met my dad. No, she followed her sisters to New York to become a maid. It's called chain migration. Look it up. 'Cause that's what your mother did.
Right.
She was one of 7 sisters.
And then he, very affectionately and as the devoted son went and visited the home that she grew up in when he was back in Scotland, correct?
Well, okay, so every year his mother she still spoke Scottish Gaelic. It's kind of a brogue they had up there. She went every year, and she would always take one of the daughters. But Donald wouldn't go. Never go, doesn't care, I don't care. But then he bought this land in Aberdeen, and he needed approval from the Scottish Parliament. So all of a sudden, he wanted to rediscover his Scottish roots. And he goes, I'm Scotch, which they don't say there. They hate Scotch. Oh, he lands in Scotland and goes, oh, we just left the UK. It's good to be in Scotland. Like, dude, you just ask Barron. He'll Google it in 10 seconds. What is the problem? So anyway, so he goes to visit his mother's childhood home. By now, she's gone. And the cousin's there, and they haven't seen him since he was 2. And he goes in there for 96 seconds. And he, oh, yeah, well, good to see you. Hey, okay. He comes back out and holds a 2-hour press conference.
Yeah. A lot of familial affection there.
But the best thing about Scotland was the signs. because I was there with him, follow him around Scotland.
Oh, really?
The signs were so great. The Scottish, you think we hate him? Get a load of these Scots. And he's from Scotland. He's half Scottish. They would love anybody except this guy, but they hate blowhards. And he is a blowhard deluxe. So the signs were great. And so in the book, we do a little Scottish, and then the English translation, like, Trump is a muckle gape. It means a know-nothing. And you're clueless numpty. I don't know what that means. You're clackwanker. You're orange ball bag. King splat. And it was like, I really need a translator. This is great.
I think we should do those. I like those.
It was really fun.
So one thing that, I mean, there are a lot of things I don't understand, but one of the things I really don't understand is that, you went and did your reporting, and there's story after story. You could have filled probably 10 volumes.
Well,
Story
exactly.
after story.
Half the stories, you get to the end of them, and it'd be right-wingers, Republican friends of mine. Like, you couldn't believe what this guy did, and blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And then I'm like, this is great. Thank you so much. Oh, you can't use it?
Yeah.
What do you mean I can't use it? This is fantastic. And you said you hate how he cheats, and it pisses you off. He goes, oh, I don't want to lose my passport.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to be audited.
Exactly.
So people run scared of this guy, which maybe I should be too. But you still got to speak up, don't you? Even if it's just golf. It's just golf. It's not. It really doesn't matter. But because it matters so little, it matters the most. Because it's the easiest thing to cheat at. Because there's no refs in golf, right? Warriors game, we're going to have umps. Baseball, refs. I mean, Warriors with refs, umps. Golf, we call our own fouls. Since golf is older than the piano, golf has always been a sport of you don't cheat your friends because it's so easy. If you're 100 yards over there and I'm 100, I trust you're not going to kick it, and you trust I'm not going to throw it. But this guy is happy to cheat his friends. One friend of mine said he saw him do this. He thinks we're all. He says he thought we were all over on this side of the fairway, but I'm behind him, and I can see what he's doing. But he's near the green behind a hill, and he hits this. But he's got the ball in his right hand. Fake chip. Runs up. I hold it. Pulls the ball out of the hole.
God.
Yes. One guy caught him doing the old lick your marker, put it on the bottom of the putter, go down to pretend you're marking your ball, but you slide the marker off 4 feet ahead. So there's nothing now here. Ball's in your pocket, but the marker's now 4 feet ahead. For an 8-foot putt, 4 feet. That's why he's my pick to win at Pebble Beach. Because he's won tournaments where he didn't even play in them.
I know, yes. So why do people put up with it? Why would anybody want to play golf with this guy?
Well, I asked a lot of people that, and a lot of people say, Donald, screw you. You can't cheat. We're playing for money. And he goes, he'll say either like, my friends do it all the time. And if you don't cheat, you're not going to be able to keep up with them. And I honestly think that's a really good metaphor for his whole life. He thinks you're going to cheat him
right
before he cheats you. His dad didn't play. He learned the game at this really rough kind of needs a shave and a new shirt course in Philly called Cobb's Creek.
Huh.
And it's a famous place where like Titanic Thompson played, and there's a group of guys there that try to con you. Like you'll be looking for your ball and you find out it's under his foot, and all kinds of stuff and tricks like bet you $100 I can make this putt, and the night before they laid a hose out on the green and they water the hose and there's that little imprint that no one can see except the guy that hits it. So there's all kinds of tricksters at this course. And somehow he got the idea, I can cheat you because you're going to cheat me, because I think he's sick in the head and he's got to win at all things. And so golf is the perfect sort of thing for that, because he can beat you on the first hole and go, I kicked your ass, and the second hole, and the third hole. So that's what he does sometimes. Then sometimes the guy will go, Trump will be like, you owe me, he played my buddy, he said, you owe me $27. And my buddy goes, I'm not paying. You cheated on every frickin' hole. And he goes, it's okay, I got a hot girlfriend and a white Rolls Royce, and he walks off. Do you know Sam Farmer, the NFL writer? He took $10 off him, which is rare. And Trump gets out the 10, and it just takes forever. And he gives it, and Sam's like, okay, thanks. He can't get the 10 out.
Wow.
He goes, I thought the 10 was going to rip. He just can't stand to lose, and it doesn't matter. I talked to the psychiatrist. He said, you don't understand. Narcissists don't feel shame. They just have to win. He said, for him losing or not being number one, not just losing, being number one is like a bath to the Wicked Witch of the West. Like it's going to kill him. And so you got to keep that in mind when you hear him say crazy. He's got to be all that bucket of self-esteem is just constantly leaking. And it's got to be filled up. Like, I guess I should take that as a compliment, even when it's not, because he needs that over and over. And I don't know how that started.
And how does it not catch up with him? Like, I'm sure when you read that he was going to run for president, I mean, what was your reaction when he declared his candidacy?
Well, this is why I had to give up retirement, and I didn't want to. I'm living in Italy. I'm retired. I'm living in there 3 months a year, or at the beach, screwing around, reading all those books I said I read and I never really read, and paddleboarding and learning to play piano and speak Italian. It was great. And I just was so happy. But then I kept seeing on my phone, hey, I'm Donald Trump, and I'm a winner because I've won 18 club championships against the best players in the club. That's the young guys, and that's with no strokes. I'm like, you liar. You already told me how you did it, which is that whenever he buys a new course, he was so proud of this, by the way. Whenever I buy a new course, I play the first round by myself with Melania, and, you know, I'm going to win that, and so that's the club championship. And he puts his name on the wall. So I started looking into it, so I started calling people at clubs I knew. Like, oh, yeah, one time he came in and he saw who had won while he was gone. He's like, oh, I beat that guy all the time. Make me the champion. So poor Joe Schmo's name comes off, and they put Donald Trump's name up. And then Golf.com reported that he was in Singapore with Kim Jong-un, and they were holding the club championship in Mar-a-Lago, and he couldn't make it. And a guy named Ted Virtue, who was the money guy behind the movie Green Book, wins it. And so fine, month goes by, Trump comes back, he sees Ted. Ted, congratulations, you won the club championship. Yeah, thanks, Mr. President. You know, when you're with the president playing golf, there's 30 golf carts. There's one cart that's got the missile. There's the thing that's got the porta-bomb shelter. It looks like a portalette, but it's on its side, and they throw the president in there if they have to.
Seriously?
Yeah, and there's a cart with the vials of blood, and there's the nuclear bomb, and there's this guy and the chief of protocol and that.
This goes from hole to hole?
Hole to hole.
No matter where he plays.
Correct. That's why we spend so much freaking money on his golf, plus the Air Force One and all that. So anyway, he sees Virtue from 2-3 holes over. Come on. And all 30 golf carts and Secret Service and Uzis and SWATs and Marines, and they all come up on Ted Virtue and go, and Trump goes, but you didn't really win it because I didn't play in it. He says like, yeah, it's funny, Mr. President. No, we're going to play the last 6 holes. He's like, what? We're going to play the last 6 holes for the real championship. He's like, what crazy world is this? And Ted's like, well, I can't. I have my son here with me. Oh, he can play. And so they go off to play the last 6 holes. They go to this par 3 with water in front. Trump hits it in the water. They see the ripples, splash or ripples. The 2 Virtues hit it on the green. Super Mario Kart is way ahead. By the time they get there, Trump and his caddy are lining up the kid's ball. Kid's like, hey, that's my ball, Mr. President. Oh, the caddy's like, no, this is the president's ball. You went in the water. And they're like, no, I didn't. And Ted goes, oh, don't worry about it. And that was a new ball. We'll get you a new ball. And then Trump makes the putt, and he wins the championship. And now, and then Trump.
So
this is true.
So
this was not even my story. This was golf.com.
It's unbelievable. Was there did you think you were going to write a book right when he declared his candidacy, or was there a tipping point where you just said, okay, I have no choice now, I got to write this book?
Well, first of all, I'm starting to get blisters typing emails to people. I'm so mad about this because I'm from a golfy family. We didn't cheat. My dad taught us to play it where it lies. That's what he always said. By the way, that's how the Bushes play. They play in 2.5 hours, and they shoot 105, and they don't care. They never touch the ball.
You played with them?
No, but Ben Crenshaw is a good friend of mine. He plays a lot. Obama.
Yeah.
You know, Michael Wilbon and Kornheiser.
Oh,
play with him
yeah,
all the time.
play with him,
Very
yeah.
strict to the rules. This guy
And even
completely
Clinton
opposite.
was right. You played with Clinton.
I will tell you that story.
Okay.
But anyway, that's a different kind of cheating. But my family, we never cheated. Like, we just played the Riley Roundup, my family tournament. And nobody called in and said, hey, I won the tournament from Philly or for the Singapore. We play it as it lies. That's how we were taught to play. This really bothered me. And because we hold this tournament in my dad's honor, and he was all about, doesn't matter what you score, just don't cheat your family or friends. And then this guy was getting away with telling people he's a 2.8 handicap when he's really a 10. I mean, Jack frickin' Nicklaus is 3.5.
Yeah.
You think I'm going to bet you over Jack Nicklaus? Because he's lying. You look on his handicap page, it takes 20 scores to get your handicap, right? He's taken 8 years to get the 20 scores when we know he played 66 times in 2018. So you cherry picker. He's just cherry picking his best scores. He's messing with the slopes and handicaps so it comes out even lower. And he's just so full of crap. He's just, as I say, he's so full of hot air you could float him in the Macy's parade. So it really bothered me. So that's when I started looking at. So I thought, well, okay, maybe I'll write this for SI or Athletic or somebody. But then I started thinking, the world has to know what. I don't know anything about all this other stuff, but I definitely think they should know this guy is a cheater. Because we just don't cheat in golf. I mean, I can remember Arnold Palmer saying, I remember one time we were playing. Arnold Palmer and I were going to play. And he goes, oh, another guy's going to join us. Okay, who is it? This guy I'm going to do business deal with. I'm not sure about him. And I always play golf with a guy before I sign a deal. I'm like, why? He said, because you can't hide who you are in 4 hours. Golf will bring out the worst in you. And if you're going to cheat me out here, I know you're going to cheat me in golf. And if you're going to lose your temper out here, you're going to lose your temper in a business meeting. And I don't want any part of you. And that is so true, you know? If you're going to cheat in golf, you're probably going to cheat on your taxes. You're going to cheat on your wife. You might cheat to win an election. You might cheat to screw up an investigation. You might lie about how you got money. You might lie how your bank. You might lie about a lot of stuff. And, you know, I always say golf is like bicycle shorts. It reveals a lot about a man. You know? And it reveals a lot about him that he cheats at golf because it's so easy. It's like going into a baby cradle and just taking everything. You can do it, but what's it say about you?
Well, and you suggest in the book that, because I wanted to ask you, how do you see that in his governance? But you suggest in the book that he could be making decisions about that are in favor of where he has golf courses, like the countries he banned early on.
Yeah.
Those were the countries that didn't have his golf courses, but UAE and Saudi Arabia.
Remember the Muslim ban? 7 countries? Well, UAE wasn't in it. And the largest population of Muslims and who's had the most terrorists is Indonesia, and they weren't in it. That's interesting because Trump has 2 courses in the UAE and 2 in Indonesia. Puerto Rico. Turns his back on Puerto Rico. People don't know that he had a course. He was running a course in Puerto Rico that he agreed to come in and save. And I'm going to bring my friends, all my celebrity friends down here. And I'm going to come down a lot. And Ivanka, and it's going to be great. And they're like, well, we've tried it now for a year, Mr. Trump. We give up. No, take out a loan from the government. So this golf course takes out $32 million loan from the Puerto Rican Bureau of Tourism. And then in the middle of the night, Trump and his boys pick up stakes and leave. And just leave him holding a $32 million bag. So no one seemed to care about that. But I mean, I'm not saying that's why he turned his back on Puerto Rico. I'm just saying that's twice he's turned his back on Puerto Rico.
And then criticize them. Well, Florida, was able to pull itself up, but, Puerto Rico's bankrupt.
Yeah.
They didn't take care of themselves. So,
yeah, and he's got courses in Florida and none in Puerto Rico.
Exactly. Okay, I'm going to ask a couple of these questions.
We're already to questions?
Well, I'm sprinkling them.
Oh, I see.
Their questions are better than mine, Rick. So, how do you feel about Tiger Woods' friendship with Trump? And how do you feel about Tiger Woods?
This is another half hour.
I know. But
Well,
it's a good question.
I love the game. I don't like the man. He doesn't tip. He's not good with fans. He's really, really dirty.
So I'm a Phil guy because Phil always tips hundreds no matter who it is. Tiger, I don't think Tiger's seen the inside of his wallet for like 10 years.
Really?
Yeah. But anyway, so how do I feel about Tiger and Trump's friendship? Okay. So this came out during the campaign that Trump said, Tiger's a really, really good friend of mine. Tiger's people said, we can't stress enough that they are not in business together and there is no relationship. Tiger, though, is building a course, designing a course in the United Arab Emirates that Trump will run. And Trump's like, he's building a course for me, which he probably is. Trump probably lined him up for it. And but the Tiger people wanted nothing to do with him. So then Tiger goes on Stephen Colbert. This is like, I don't know, 3 months ago. Hey, tell us about all the presidents you played golf with. And Tiger's like, Bush, 41, 43, Clinton, Obama. And he stops. And they're like, and Colbert's like, well, what about Trump? And Tiger goes, you said presidents. Gets a big laugh from the crowd. In other words, this guy's no president. And he has this wry eating grin on his face. And so he clearly doesn't respect Trump as a president. And then Trump has said 3 times publicly, golf should be an aspirational sport. In other words, if you've made enough money and can join a country club, then you should be able to play golf. Can you freaking believe that? 89% of golf played in this country is played on public courses. It's a great game. 4 hours, $35 with your pals, beers. It's fantastic. You don't need to join a country club. But the hypocrisy of then giving the Presidential Medal of Freedom award to a guy who would have never played golf or had the chance to play golf if the president was running things. Tiger was the son of an Army vet. He played military courses. Lee Trevino. He never played a country club until he was 25 years old. Seve. Arnold Palmer was the son of a pro who wasn't allowed in the clubhouse. So get the F out of here saying that only rich people. So how does Tiger accept that award when he's got to go back to the Tiger Woods Foundation where the whole point is, hey, let's teach at-risk kids golf and the joys of golf and the etiquette of golf, and we'll also get them an education. What's he say to those kids? What's he say to first tee kids? And but no one ever brings up golf in around the White House. Like that's a big double standard. But I don't know.
Is it the elitism of golf that Trump is so captivated by this? Why is he so captivated by this sport?
Yes.
It's the elitism.
He loves being better than you. And that's why.
Better than you, just in a hierarchical, on every level.
He's better than you in every way.
Well, I know that. I know me, but.
This is what he loved about golf. And I was talking to his old business partner. Okay. As soon as he realized he could play golf, hey, I want to join a country club. And that's where all the money is. And I'm going to show up and you can't get in the gates. And then when they started like Winged Foot, he can't get a game anymore. He joined Winged Foot. Can't get a game because he cheats. And no one's going to bet him. He cheats. So he left Winged Foot and started his own club. And that's why he started building his own clubs, because I know he couldn't. There's 2 or 3 clubs he tried to get in Los Angeles that wouldn't let him in.
Really?
Nobody wanted him around. He hinted about Augusta, couldn't get in there. Hey, if you're not going to let me in, I'll build my own courses. And then he's like, do you realize this guy, Trump Los Angeles in the down by Palos Verdes, right? It's a terrible course, beautiful views. But every hole is awful, and it's a plate of sausages, as we say, where every hole goes like this. He says it's better than Pebble Beach. Like, what? He said that a dozen times. Better than Pebble Beach. He's like, Pebble Beach is a toy compared to Trump Los Angeles. Well, no, and absolutely effing no. No way. Pebble Beach is always 1, 2, or 3. It's my favorite course in the world. Meanwhile, Trump Los Angeles isn't even in the top 100 courses in California. But Trump doesn't care. He just lies and lies and lies. And in fact, if you go down there and wearing a Pebble Beach shirt, the staff is instructed to make you take off the shirt and put on a Trump Los Angeles shirt. You cannot play golf in a Pebble Beach shirt. Like, what? Are we living in crazy times?
Yeah, we are. We sure are.
Like, who are you kidding? Yes.
He is the king, the emperor.
He's the king of crap. He's King Crap Twaddle.
Okay, yeah. Let's go with that. Okay, this person's wondering if this one is true. I heard that Trump wanted to build a seawall for a course in Scotland and wrote in the application that he needed the wall because of global warming.
It's in the book.
It is in the book.
It's in the book. So I've been saying Trump says one thing to the rest of us, but when it comes to his real life and his golf courses, he lies his ass off. For instance, he said, pulling us out of climate change, it's a Chinese hoax. No, it isn't, but okay, you're pulling us out. But in the course he just left in Ireland, he's petitioning to build a 2,000-foot seawall. It's 10 feet high because, as it says in the application, climate change, quote unquote, is causing rising sea levels, quote unquote, that's ruining our fairways. And we have the right to defend our fairways. Like, well, which is it, Donald? You know? You remember when he was running for president, he said, I'm worth $9 billion or whatever he said. Well, how's that? Well, he listed every one of his golf courses as being worth $50 million. Now, that's insane. Like, I think only Pebble Beach, I don't know if any other course besides Pebble Beach is worth, maybe Cypress, $50 million. He says that, like, for instance, he said Trump Westchester's worth $50 million. Right now, he's suing the tax board there, saying it's only worth 1.4. And the tax board's assessing it at worth about 12 million. So that's a $48.6 million lie if you're keeping track at home.
Unbelievable.
I mean,
I know. So why, this is a good question.
It's just golf. Imagine all the other lies, Joan.
Exactly. Well, we see it in the paper every day. I think most people know he's a con artist. Why do they still like him?
What am I, Jake Tapper? I don't know. I don't know. Why do people, friends of mine play golf with him. I'm like, why do you play golf with him? You saw him, like the other day in L.A., or not the other day, just before he ran. He hits it into the lake on a course. Splash, splash. We all see the splash. I don't see the splash. They do, my buddies. Super Mario Kart. By the time they get there, it's on the fairway. What the hell, Donald? We're playing a money game. He's like, I don't know. Must have been the tide.
Must have been the tide.
Must have been the tide. But I mean, this is a guy that thinks windmills give you cancer.
Right, that's true.
I'm like,
yeah.
If standing in front of blowing air gave you cancer, no one would stand in front of you, dude.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you do have the story about Mike Tirico.
Yeah.
And he cheated Mike Tirico. Well, you tell the story, and he paid up it's like, why do people do that?
Mike Tirico, one of the nicest guys in the history of the world, is an announcer for NBC. He's playing, this is before Trump was president, Trump and John Gruden, Raiders coach. Oh, Las Vegas Raiders. Sorry. Oh. Raiders coach. And then Tirico and another guy. And Super Mario Kart, Tirico hits this fantastic shot, 230 yards up to a blind green on a par 5. So Tirico's going to have a putt for eagle. Now, I don't know if Mike Tirico's ever made a putt for eagle. It's going to be the greatest thing that's ever happened to him. No, but he's so excited. And he and the caddy just can't wait to get up there. But there's only one guy in a cart, and that's Trump and his caddy. The time they get up there, no ball. They check the hole. No, not in there. What the? They find it in the bunker 40 yards left. And they're like, did it hit a drone? What the hell happened? And they check the mark, and it's Tirico's ball. And they can't believe it. He leaves that one in there, chops it out, 3 putts, makes a double bogey. Pays Trump the $20. Of course, Trump buys lunch. He's very charming. Get back to the parking lot, and the caddy says, Trump kicked your ball into the bunker. I watched him do it. So there's a certain circle of hell reserved for people who not only, I've played with cheaters before, not like this guy, but okay, you're cheating, but I've never heard of someone making your score worse for $20 against the nicest guy ever. So I said, what did you say? He's like, what can you say? He's the president. And he didn't say that. It's his course. He's buying. He's going to buy you lunch. He's kind of fun.
Is he kind of fun?
He's kind of fun.
In what way?
I asked James Patterson. James Patterson? He's played with him twice now. And I said, what's it like? Why do you put up with it? He's like, well, you're with the president and you're playing in 3 hours and you're blowing through people and nobody's putting out and you have no idea what's going on and there's Secret Service and the missile and the porta bomb and and you're like, what's it? And there's it's over in 3 hours. And he goes, I don't know what it was. It wasn't golf. And then this is what I found out. So at Trump Washington, he plays Trump Washington a lot, but this is how it is at every course. He finishes the round in 3 hours. There's no putting out. He says he won. He takes the $20. He brags about it. Then he sits at a big round table in the grill. And there's a Secret Service guy in every corner of the men's grill. And there's one Secret Service guy with the cook and one Secret Service guy with the waiter. And he orders always 10 cheeseburgers, 10 orders of fries, 10 Cokes, ice cream, and anybody can come sit at this round table. Not just the guys who played with him.
Okay.
And it's so great if you're like a Chinese spy. Because all you got to do is be in there that day and you got your little thumb drive or whatever it is. And that's where he got caught at Bedminster saying, White House is an effing dump. He had said it to these people.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and so some of the stuff I got was from stuff he said, sitting around the table, blabbering crazily. But he is a good host.
Well, those burgers.
And
burgers and
burgers.
fries.
Oh, yeah.
We see what he does for those teams who go and visit as many cold hamburgers you want. Yeah.
Wait a minute. I blew out my knee and you're giving me cold Wendy's?
Yeah.
Come on.
Exactly. Okay, another question. If I was playing around with him, how could I possibly get under his skin?
Oh, wow. Let's see you putt that one, Donald. No one ever
Really?
says that to him. You know the circle of friendship when you're playing golf? Circle of friendship is like, if it's inside like a 2-foot radius, we all go, that next one's good, and just add one. It's called a gimme, right? That next one's a gimme, pick it up. And you just add one to your score. Well, his circle of friendship for himself is like the size of a Winnebago. Like he's just raking left and right. But I was talking to Mike Ruzioni, and I'm like, so how was it like? Well, he goes, I played with him like for 14 holes, and I'm like, Mr. President, you're pretty good at taking them, but you're not too good at giving them. Everyone else has to putt them. But no, make that. And he got caught on MSNBC once. Did you see this? He's putting with Ernie Els, playing with, and he misses a putt, and it power lips out. Have you ever seen a power lip? And it's like a 3-foot putt that goes 6 feet. And they're playing the hole. And he rakes it, picks it up. God knows. Did you see the thing that happened at Ireland this week? He's on the 18th hole. And usually in America, they keep anybody out with a camera. No one can film him. But this somehow, some locals got in. He's just the worst chipper in the world. He cannot chip. He's got a pretty good swing. He hits it pretty far, kind of long and wrong. Irons aren't bad. Terrible chipper. We don't know how he putts. But he can't chip, and he's terrible out of bunkers because his caddies always kick it out of bunkers. He's terrible out of any long lie because they kick it out. Pele, you know? So anyway, he's got this 20-yard chip up over a bunker. Chip gets halfway there, comes back to his feet. Chips, back to his feet. Finally gets it on. The crowd goes, good for you, mister. And he says he's won 20 club championships. Get the F out of here. You can't chip. You ain't winning anything.
This person wants to know, if you follow basketball, who do you think carefully on this, who do you think is going to win the championship and why?
You're asking me with 2 games to go? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Think about your answer carefully.
Well. Where are you again? Yes, exactly. Well, I have this charity called Nothing But Nets, and we put nets above kids in Africa because if they get bit by a mosquito before they're 6 years old, they're probably going to die. And so I came up with this idea of like, sports fans, we love nets, right? You know, cutting down nets, jump over nets, New Jersey nets, cheerleaders and fish nets. I don't know, nets. We're crazy about nets. So I was like, if you've ever loved nets, send me $10. And that's all you needed to hang a net. Well, we just passed $65 million.
Oh my God.
It's unbelievable,
Rick,
right?
that's
10 years,
great.
let's say 12 years now. It's called nothingbutnets.net. Well, one year, Steph Curry came and hung nets with us.
Oh.
And I'm like, Steph, I'm so glad you're here. It's just so great. And he goes, oh, thanks. I'm glad to do it. No, because you're tall and it's hard to hang. Well, there's Steph Curry. And I remember we played this game against this. It's always at refugee camps. So the refugee camp will have a little team. And he and I played against him. And Steph was trying not to get hurt. It's a $100 million athlete. And it was very odd because I don't think they knew who he was yet.
Yeah.
And he dunked in jeans. And no one said anything. And I'm like, you just freaking dunked. You're no taller than me. And he goes, I know, they have no idea how hard that was. So I'm a huge Steph fan. He's done so much for us. He came up with a shoe and donated all the profits to Nothing But Nets.
Really?
So of course I hope they win. It's going to be hard though.
It is going to be.
It's going to be hard. I mean, it's huge emotional letdown after what they did in Game 5. I mean, it's good. Hopefully they can get up again, but then, well, I don't know.
And get behind KD.
But just
win it for KD.
Was that the most? Just sports can be so heartless. Am I right, Joan?
It is.
Here's a guy, battles back, wants to play. He's dancing in the hallway. He's hot as can be.
I know.
He's like, I'm back, baby. Makes his first 4 shots, 12 points in 11 minutes. Snap. And now not only is he out for the end of the titles games, which he wanted so desperately to play, he's not going to be back next year. And that's just so sad because it takes at least a year for this. That's June of next year.
I know.
And he's such a great kid. And
well, you know, and I was thinking about this. And I didn't put it in my notes, but there's this great quote from you that I think you included in your last column of the life of Riley, that you talked about why sports matters. And I wanted to just in general ask you about that. I mean, you wrote 2 million words about sports. You know, since you were 20, this is all you wrote about.
Yeah.
Why does it matter, and why did it matter to spend your career writing about sports?
You know, I was raised. I had a drunk dad. He was just drunk. He was never there, and I was a wild kid. And I remember I got a job. I was still in college. I was 19 years old. And I'd never had any discipline at all. And I remember writing this kind of nasty thing in the local newspaper. And I had a 40-hour-a-week job. And this coach took me inside. I was covering the ladies basketball team. This guy took me, the coach, Sox Walseth was his name. And he took me in. He said, you can't just burn people like that. You got a long life. These are real people with families, and you've hurt this man today. And you should feel ashamed. You can't go around doing this. You're going to have a very short career. And I remember crying. This guy held me. And then I started thinking about it as I got older. Like, I was kind of raised by these men. I was raised by good men. Dan Reeves, Denver Broncos. John Wooden really helped me. God, I mean, I can remember John Wooden. We were going to do a book. You remember John Wooden? His wife died. And I would always go to his house for his birthday. And I noticed one year that he still had all these love letters to his wife. He wrote a love letter every month and tied them up in a little bundle. Mm. And he put them on the side of the bed he didn't sleep on. He was still in love with Nell. Mm. And it had been 15 years. And so I said, Coach, let's write a book about how to make love last. And we'll use these love letters and we'll donate the money. Okay, that's great. Let's do that, Rick. And so come back in 1 month and we'll start talking about it. So I come back in 1 month and I rang the doorbell and his condo in Encino, right? And no answer. And he always answered. So I jumped the fence, knocked on the door, and he never was late. He never missed an appointment. Knock, and I'm knocking. It's been 15 minutes. Finally, he opened the door, and he was crying. He was just crying like this, Coach Wooden. And he said, it's too soon. He goes, Rick, it's too soon. I can't do it. And it's guys like that taught me about everything, you know. And so I'll never forget in 9/11 when that flight left Boston and was headed to here, right? 4 guys realized the plane. Everybody realized the plane was going to be a suicide plane. 4 men who'd been trained in sports came up with a plan. It was that rugby player who turned out to be gay. It was a baseball player who played college ball, a college basketball player, and a track star. And they made a plan in the deepest of pressure. And they executed this plan, and they knew they were going to die. And those were the guys that busted through with the drink cart. And that plane was headed for the Pentagon. Or it was headed for the Capitol building. Capitol building. My niece was working that day in the Capitol building for Senator Lane of Illinois. And those guys I think they probably saved my niece's life. I don't know. But sports teaches you about teamwork, you know, and I'll never forget, there was this cross-country runner named Ben Coleman, South Carolina, and his teammates would finish the 3 miles in 17 minutes, and he would finish in 53 minutes. And the problem was he had cerebral palsy, so his right side couldn't keep up with his left. And in cross-country, you got to run over hills and he would fall. And he'd cut up his face, and his whole right side was scarred. And his mom begged him to quit, and his coach begged him to quit. And Ben Coleman said, I can't quit. And they said, why? He says, I can't quit on my team. But he never figured in a match. So the teammates got tired of waiting for him. So they'd go out and run the last mile and a half back. They'd run a mile and a half out again and run it back with him. But you can't touch a guy in cross country. That's against the rules. So they would run at this incredibly slow pace. He'd fall. They'd wait. He'd get up, run again, fall. And they did. Then the girls' team started running with him. Then the cheerleaders started running with him. And his last meet of the year, with 6 teams in the meet, all 6 teams ran with Ben Coleman, while the parents waited in just tears as this group of 200 kids, it didn't matter who won. It was about just being there for each other, you know? And I mean, it just chokes me up remembering this story. So I get this email from Kevin Costner, the actor. I want you to know I cried about that column, and Ben Coleman's my new hero, and I want you to know and tell him that I will pay for his education no matter how far he goes. He was in high school at the time. And I'm like, okay. And Ben Coleman is now a doctor. So like we just stuck it to Kevin Costner so hard.
Wow.
But you know what I
really?
mean?
Did you write that follow-up
Yeah.
to that? Oh, my God.
I mean, it's just so, you know, okay. People say, what does it matter? Like I go to these things and there's always somebody in a red hat. Well, what does it matter? Okay, he cheats. Well, it matters to me, you know? My dad, as much as he sobered up his last 25 years of life. And every day he wore a yellow shirt. And the reason he wore a yellow shirt was because Jack Nicklaus wore a yellow shirt in '86 when he won the Masters. You remember? He came from out of nowhere, remember? He hadn't won in 4 years. He could hardly see the ball land. And this incredible underdog, if you can call Jack Nicklaus an underdog, wins the Masters. The reason he wore a yellow shirt that day was because a kid who was dying of leukemia sent him a note the week before. Mr. Nicklaus, you're my hero. Would you wear a yellow shirt on Sunday so I know you got this letter?
Oh, wow.
So he wore a yellow shirt. He wins the Masters. He's my dad's favorite player, and my dad knows the story. So for the rest of his days, from '86 until 2000 when he died, he wore a yellow shirt.
Every day.
We had to keep buying him new shirts because they're threadbare. So we buried him in the yellow shirt.
Wow.
And and 2 days ago, we had the yellow, we all wear yellow shirts. So it matters to me. It matters. It mattered to my dad. You don't get to just screw up my sport. You don't get to drive on greens. You don't get to just lie to people about, no one says they won the Riley Roundup when they were somewhere else. You don't get to cheat at my sport. Go ahead. Other reporters will take care of the taxes and all this other lying he's doing. But this really pisses me off. And that's why I wrote the book, because, I mean, I practically got blisters. I just had to write this book. And I don't know. I don't know if it mattered to people or not. I hope it did. but it's a new way of looking at him. It's a Rorschach test for who he is. It's so easy to cheat at this. You just don't. And I have no respect for him purely on the golf thing.
Well, it's a Rorschach test for America, too. I mean, if you know all of this about him and you can still pull that, well, we don't pull levers anymore, but if you can still vote for him and you know all of this. So, I mean, you're around the golf courses and the country clubs and, I mean, obviously you don't know who voted for him and who didn't. Do you have an insight after doing all of this reporting and talking to so many people who know he did all this and still play with him and still are friends with him? Did it give you any kind of insight into the people, why America actually did put him in the White House?
I think they got sold a story, and they needed to know him before could tell people, but he's full of it. He's not a billionaire. He's not a good businessman. He's not a good golfer. He's not a good husband. This is all bull. And they think he's some kind of. Do you remember when you were 6 years old and the guy Scrooge McDuck, and he had his name on buildings and $100 coming out of his socks, and he dove into a swimming pool full of gold coins, and somehow I think Americans thought this is what we were going to have, and we were all going to be diving into swimming pools full of gold coins. Well, it's bull. It's bull. And so I've had people say, I voted for him, and I can put up with a lot of things, and I like his policies, but I cannot stand a cheater. And a lot of people say the same thing. My mom can't stand him. She voted for him, but now she's finding out what a cheater he is at golf. Because the reason this rings true with people is because there's no abortion attached to it. There's not immigration attached to it. There's not how much he cheated on his taxes or whatever. It's just golf, but it matters because how you do one thing is how you do everything. And if you can cheat at golf and cheat your friends, and I keep thinking of Arnold Palmer, he wouldn't do business with this guy. And I wouldn't do business with him either. And I hope people don't vote for him. And it's going to kill my sales if he doesn't win. I don't give a damn.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, I want my peace of mind back.
Is there anything you like about this guy?
That day when we played golf, and he's great copy, and it was crazy, and I couldn't believe what the hell it was just happened. And it's like, he's the tornado and you're the trailer. It's just woo! And all of a sudden I was being spit out on the out of the limo on Fifth Avenue, and he rolls down the window. Oh, it was a lot of fun. Okay. And I said, so Don, you want to do it again tomorrow? And he goes, for most people, one day of me is enough. And if you're listening, Donald, one term of you is enough, okay?
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. How'd we do? Are you okay?
We still have a couple more minutes? Oh, okay.
Oh, Clinton. Okay, Clinton.
All right.
So
Clinton's story.
So the difference between the way Clinton cheats and the way Trump cheats is the difference between the guy that comes into the bank and steals the pen versus the vault. You know what I mean? Because Trump really wants to just win. He doesn't really love golf. He just wants to beat you. Clinton loved golf and he never got to play. So I played with him as president. And he was so into it. But he was cheating, but he didn't realize, like, he had 24 clubs in his bag and the limit's 14. And he had this 75-year-old caddy who was like listing like this. And so he swings like this. And he's fun. And he's like off his toes. And the ball would go way right. And so ostensibly he'd play the first ball and the Secret Service would go to that ball. But then he'd hit all these what we call billigans. This is not a mulligan. This is a billigan. And he's not going to play it. But it is cheating because it's 2 shots per time you do that because it's practice. And so, and all these Secret Service guys and Marines are with us and the guard and the chief of protocol and SWAT guys are like, what's a SWAT guy going to do?
Yeah.
You're going to wrestle down a squirrel or something? And so he's hitting all these shots way right. And the poor caddy's having to get these and come back and to get these and come back. And on the 8th hole, the caddy just got sick of it. And he goes, stay off your toes. You ain't no damn ballerina. And like the Secret Service guys are, well, and the chief of protocol is like, and like even the squirrels are like, and I'm like, holy crap! If we were in Iran right now, this caddy's tongue would be cut out, right? And then we'd go find his kids and cut those tongues out, and then we'd wait for the kids to have kids and their tongues to be cut out, right? And like, what's gonna happen? And we're all looking at Clinton, and he goes, "Sorry, my bad. I'll work on it."
The big difference. Well, huge thank you to Rick
Thank you.
Riley.
Thank you.
And a reminder that that there are going to be copies of Rick's book out there. That are you going to stick around and sign them for?
$5.
For
$5
$5 to sign them. I'm Joan Ryan, and now this meeting of the Commonwealth Club, the place where you're in the know, is adjourned.
Oh wow! Where'd you get that?